Where is Amanda Knox now? A look at her life, 10 years after exoneration, and what she's told her young kids about her time in prison. Amanda Knox was exonerated by Italy's highest court 10 years ago on March 27, 2015. Even after being exonerated 10 years ago on March 27, 2015, Amanda Knox has had to fight to clear her name in the court of public opinion. The exoneree has used the infamous 2007 case, in which she and her boyfriend, Raffaele Sollecito, were accused of murdering her roommate, Meredith Kircher, while studying abroad in Italy, as a platform to advocate for criminal justice, since her own conviction was first overturned in 2011. Knox launched a podcast with her husband, Christopher Robinson, titled Labyrinths with Amanda Knox, in 2020, and she has written 2 books. While the first recounted the details of her conviction, her 2025 memoir, Free: My Search for Meaning, chronicled her obstacles while reintegrating into society. I had changed, she told People in March 2025, of returning home after spending 4 years in an Italian prison. I was now the girl accused of murder. For better or for worse, that was forever my legacy. Knox, who has welcomed a daughter and a son since her exoneration, tried to overturn her conviction for slander related to a confession she made about her former boss, Patrick Lumumba. An appellate court in Florence, Italy, upheld the original, ruling in June 2024. Knox spoke out about the ruling in a thread on X, where she wrote that the Italian justice system has been gaslighting me for 17 years now, adding, "Rest assured, I'm headed back to the Court of Cassation to fight this." From life before her wrongful conviction to everything that's happened since her exoneration 10 years ago, here's an in-depth look at where Amanda Knox is now. Who is Amanda Knox? Born on July 9, 1987, Amanda Knox is the oldest child of Etta Mellis, an elementary school math teacher originally from Germany, and Kurt Knox, a finance executive. Etta and Kurt had a second daughter together, Deanna, before divorcing in 1989 when Knox was a toddler, according to the Seattle Times. Knox grew up with her mother and Deanna in a middle-class neighborhood in West Seattle. She also has 2 younger half-sisters, Ashley and Delaney. She earned a scholarship to attend Seattle Preparatory School, where she performed in school plays and excelled at soccer, according to Vanity Fair. It was on the soccer field as a child that Knox was given the now infamous nickname Foxy Knoxy, because she was quick like a fox. After graduating from Seattle Prep in 2005, Knox attended the University of Washington in Seattle, where she studied creative writing, German and Italian, according to The Guardian. While a college student, Knox worked 3 jobs to save $10,000 to study abroad in Perugia, Italy during her junior year, as her parents told the Seattle Times. Who was Meredith Kircher? Meredith Kircher was a 21-year-old British exchange student who shared a ground-floor 4-bedroom apartment in Perugia with a then 20-year-old Knox and 2 Italian women, Filomena Romanelli and Laura Mazzetti. While Kircher attended the University of Leeds, Knox studied Italian at the University for Foreigners and held a part-time job at a bar called Le Chic. Amid her studies and work, Knox began dating a 23-year-old Italian man named Raffaele Sollecito. On November 2, 2007, after spending the night with Sollecito, Knox claimed she returned to the apartment to find the door slightly ajar, drops of blood in her bathroom, feces in the toilet, and Kircher's door locked. She made a call to Kircher's phone, which went unanswered, and to her mother back in Seattle. She said, "Mom, I'm okay. I'm home. But I think somebody might have been in my house," Mellis told the Seattle Times. According to Knox's account of the morning, she then took a shower and returned to Sollecito's home. The two came back to the apartment together and attempted to open Kircher's door. When they couldn't gain entry, Sollecito called the Italian military police. Officers quickly arrived, but not the ones Sollecito had called. 2 postal police had found 2 phones in a nearby garden and traced them to the home. When the postal police, who handle communications-related crimes, refused to knock down the door, a friend of Romanelli's kicked down Kircher's door, according to Rowling. Stone. They found Kircher dead, her throat slashed and her partially clothed body covered by a duvet. What was Amanda Knox accused of? Rather than returning home to Seattle following the discovery of Kircher's body, Knox stayed in Italy. She was detained by Italian police for questioning and interrogated for 53 hours over 5 days without legal counsel or an interpreter. Present. I was hit on the back of the head. I was yelled at. Police were coming in and out of the room telling me that I was a liar, she claimed to Nightline about the interrogation. It was chaos. It was utter chaos. Knox eventually signed a confession that put her at the crime scene and implicated Lumumba, her boss at Le Chic. Knox, Solicito, and Lumumba were arrested on November 6, 2007, and held on conspiracy to commit manslaughter and sexual violence. Lumumba was released without charge 2 weeks later after his alibi was corroborated, while Knox was held in prison awaiting trial. Before Knox and Solicito's trial began, a third individual, 21-year-old Rudy Gued, who had moved to Perugia from the Ivory Coast at age 5, was arrested in connection with Kircher's murder. Gued, whose fingerprints were found at the crime scene and whose DNA was found in and on Kircher's body, was granted a fast-tracked trial, separate from Knox and Solicito, in September 2008, according to the New York Times. A month later, he was found guilty of murder and sexual assault and sentenced to 30 years in prison by an Italian judge. Despite Guede's conviction, Knox and Solicito were still indicted on murder charges, and their trials began in January 2009. After 2 years in prison and an 11-month trial, an Italian jury found both Knox and Solicito guilty on charges of sexual violence and murder. Though prosecutors were seeking life in prison, Knox was sentenced to 26 years. How long was Amanda Knox in prison? Knox and her lawyers appealed her conviction, and on October 3, 2011, nearly 4 years after she was arrested in connection with Kircher's murder, an Italian appeals court overturned the most serious charges against her. The 2 judges and 6 jurors only upheld one minor charge, defamation, for implicating her former boss, Lumumba, in her signed confession to the police. The charge was made in 2009 while she was imprisoned. Knox was given credit for time served and released after 4 years behind bars. During her appeals trial, Knox took the stand to proclaim her innocence. I did not kill. I did not rape. I did not steal. I wasn't there. I wasn't there at the crime, she said during her 10-minute testimony. While in jail, Knox told people that she focused on being useful. I translated for people. I helped them talk to the doctor. I helped them sign their legal paperwork, write to their family members, write their love letters, which could get a little racy sometimes because you get very lonely in there, she said in March 2025. Why was Amanda Knox acquitted? Following her acquittal, Knox boarded a flight home to Seattle on October 4, 2011. But her ordeal was not over. In March 2013, an Italian court ordered a retrial of her case. Nearly a year later, she and Solicito were found guilty of murder again. Knox and Solicito were reconvicted because the nature of Kircher's wounds indicated that Guede did not act alone, the judges explained. Knox was sentenced to 28 years in prison, while Solicito received a 25-year sentence. However, Knox told Good Morning America that she would never go willingly back to Italy to serve her sentence. The country also never attempted to extradite Knox to serve her second sentence. It's not right, and it's not fair, she added. Knox's saga finally came to an end on March 27, 2015, when Italy's highest court of appeals overturned her and Solicito's convictions, later citing stunning flaws in the investigation and a lack of evidence. I am tremendously relieved and grateful for the decision of the Supreme Court of Italy, Knox said in a statement obtained by People. The knowledge of my innocence has given me strength in the darkest times of this ordeal. In 2016, the Associated Press reported that the European Court of Human Rights, ECHR, ruled that Knox's rights had been violated during her interrogation. In response, she appealed the slander conviction, and a retrial of the case began in the Florence Appeals Court on April 10, 2024. 2 months later, the appellate court upheld the initial 2009 ruling, and she was sentenced to 3 years in prison, but she won't be serving additional jail time because of her time served. Per AP. Guide served 13 of his original 30-year prison sentence and was released for good behavior in 2021. He still maintains his innocence in Kircher's death. Where is Amanda Knox now? In her post-prison life, Knox completed her undergraduate degree in creative writing at the University of Washington, began writing an arts column for the West Seattle Herald, and in 2013, she penned a memoir about her ordeal titled Waiting to be Heard, which became a New York Times bestseller. She also hosted a podcast called The Truth About True Crime, which shed light on cases involving wrongful convictions and media sensationalization. In 2019, after 2 years of debate, Knox agreed to participate in a Netflix documentary titled Amanda Knox. The project premiered in October 2016 and was nominated the following year for 2 Primetime Emmy Awards. After seeing the documentary for the first time, Knox told people she was incredibly relieved with the result and thankful for the directors, Rod Blackhurst and Brian McGinn. It also inspired a new mission in her life, to help prevent wrongful convictions, as she revealed to people in 2017. As part of that mission, Knox returned to Italy in 2019 as the keynote speaker at a criminal justice conference hosted by the Italy Innocence Project. She's also worked as a journalist and debuted an unscripted series on Facebook Watch called The Scarlet Letter Reports in 2018 to give high-profile women who had been publicly shamed, including Misha Barton and Amber Rose, a chance to tell their stories. It's humbling to be here in the position I'm in now, where I can help other women reclaim their narrative, Knox told people. When at a certain point in my life, I thought I was going to live the better part of my life in prison labeled something I was not, with no chance at ever reclaiming my life. In January 2019, the European Court of Human Rights ordered Italy to pay Knox nearly $21,000 in damages, costs, and expenses, the New York Times reported. The damages were the result of Italian police failing to provide Knox with legal assistance and an interpreter during her 53 hours of questioning following Kircher's murder. However, the court did not find that Knox had sustained inhuman or degrading treatment, as she had claimed. In 2023, Knox returned again to Italy, this time to Perugia, to meet with the prosecutor in her case, Dr. Giuliano Mignini, and found that she was able to forgive him. Forgiveness is a natural consequence of realizing how fragile and precious another human is, she told people in March 2025. I immediately sort of stepped into mom mode, and I was like, I'm not just forgiving you. I'm holding you. I care about you. And that changed everything. Knox released her second book, Free, in 2025, and will serve as an executive producer on the Hulu limited series Amanda, in which Tell Me Lies actress Grace Van Patten will play her. Who is Amanda Knox's husband? Knox began dating author Christopher Robinson in late 2015 after they met at a local book launch party. By 2016, they had moved in together, and in December 2018, the couple quietly married. To simplify our taxes and insurance, they shared in a later statement. Despite their initial nuptials being practically motivated, they later celebrated with a space-themed reception in February 2020. Knox and Robinson did not take the decision to wed lightly. I don't want to get married for the sake of getting married. My hope is that I have a partner with whom I can continue to take on the world. And I very much love Chris and feel like he is my partner, Knox told People in 2017. Does Amanda Knox have kids? Knox and Robinson welcomed their daughter, Eureka Muse. Knox Robinson in 2021, and their son, Echo Knox Robinson, in September 2023. Knox experienced a miscarriage prior to the birth of her first child. The couple have kept their kids out of the public eye, something Knox spoke about after announcing Eureka's birth on their podcast, Labyrinths. "She deserves the privacy and autonomy that I was denied," the author said. Speaking to People in 2017 about parenting her future children, Knox said, "I hope to instill in them the sense that not knowing what to do and asking for help, especially of us, doesn't mean that they are less capable or less adult. We'll help each other, and that will be our strength. That's what my family taught me." In 2025, Knox revealed that her 3-year-old daughter was already asking questions about her mother's time in prison. "She wants to know the story of when Mommy went to Italy," Knox told Good Morning America. "I believe in being transparent. I believe in being honest. I always give her very age-appropriate, honest answers," she continued. "And I've told her the story of when Mommy went to Italy, how someone hurt her friend, and then they hurt Mommy by putting her in prison and all of that." Knox added that the bigger message she wanted to convey to her kids was one of resilience and inner strength. She said, "I feel like now I can show her what it means to go through the inevitable pains of life, but still be in a place of being okay deep down.